So I've been trying to work out what to use and how to use the StellaPro Evolves in the studio and on location. And I had a meet and greet after a show the other day. And it actually worked out pretty good. I used a magic arm. I don't know if you ever saw these before, but this is a magic arm. These are so handy to use. I have one in my case at all times because I love them. They have all different brands. My favorite is the Manfrotto, but it doesn't matter. You can get anything, get a decent one that works and you'll be fine. But the way these work and the way you can use them is incredible. But anyway, getting back to the subject at hand, I used a magic arm. I had a strobe in an umbrella, and then I used this to put the StellaPro just pointed towards the umbrella. The reason I do this, and it makes it convenient for me, because if a strobe goes, or if there's an issue, or if the talent does not want strobe, and that happens a lot because they just don't want strobe in their eye. I did William Shatner not too long ago, and he doesn't like strobe, so I had to set up LED. But if they don't tell you prior to this, you better have your system ready to switch out really quickly before they walk in. But with this, I put the strobe in, had the Stella connected, turned it on, did the metering for each, and I was ready to go with whichever she wanted to do. So she was okay with strobe, so we just used strobe. But let me just show you really quick the setup that I used. As you can see, I mean, obviously with the iPhone, this looks a lot brighter than it is, but the lighting down here is very dark. And the backdrop, that's a printed backdrop for the sponsor of this area of this theater. This is the downstairs premium bar area for premium seat holders and so forth. But anyway, so flipping that light on, it gave me, an easy way to focus. It gave me light no matter what. And the backdrop is like this vinyl backdrop. So obviously you can see it's like the wrinkles are shown and so forth. But anyway, that was the quick setup. And sorry, I can't do video when the talent walks in. But now with that setup, it was, if the person didn't want it, I could have just flipped that on. But I turned it on because it was so dark in the area that I was working. And I hate, the huge black pupils, because you can't see any of the iris of the eye, and it just looks dead to me. Even with a catch light, it's just too much. And it helped obviously with focusing as well. But I turned it down to half power, just put it into the diffuser. It bounced back and lit the scene, so it was great. And if I did have an issue with the strobe, I would still get the photos, or if the person didn't want strobe, I still got the photos. So it gave me an idea to throw 2 of these StellaPros in an umbrella in the studio to see if I can get enough light. Which, the only reason I'm doing this is, I can get like a regular LED that plugs into the wall with more lumens than I know what to do with. But I have these, so I figured, hey, let me try the 2 heads without the batteries, plug them into the wall. When you plug them into the wall, they go from 6,000 lumen to 9,000 lumen. Let me just show you what it is. So this is how I have it set up. I have the main one here, and that's holding the umbrella. And this is a 71 inch, I believe. And then I have the second one here on one of the magic arms. And let's turn these on and I'll show you the difference. So these are at 9,000 lumens now. Both of them going at once. So, technically it's 18,000 lumens. And, let's do a quick reading to see where they're at. So I have it set at ISO 200. It's not 64, the one I like to shoot at. 250 the second. Stop me from shaking because I'm using still not strobe. and we'll see what we're at. So I'm at 250th at f1.4 at ISO 200. So not a lot of light. And now we're running two of these. Now, granted, I know there's a lot of great videos on LEDs, and I'm sure they're shooting at 800 ISO and 1600 ISO. But like I said, I like to keep that base ISO low. I'm going to see if I can. So if I go to 400 ISO, it takes me to f2. Which isn't bad, but I'd have to be shooting at 800 ISO. And I know a lot of you don't mind that, and I'm sure I wouldn't either. But I'm going to shoot this today. I'm going to shoot in JPEG because I just want to try JPEG. I don't use JPEG, and I like the appeal of JPEG because I think camera manufacturers really put a lot into their processing in camera. The problem that I had with it in the past with a lot of the cameras shooting JPEG is they over sharpen. And once it's over sharpened, you can't do anything with it. Obviously, that's why we use RAW, so we can control everything. But I just wanted to play with JPEG for once because I haven't used it on the Leica yet. I know there's some cameras that just do an amazing job with JPEG. I had the X100V, the Fuji, for a while, and I loved the JPEGs out of it. Their film simulations are very, very cool. But like in my head, I was like, oh, I can do that in Lightroom later. Why, and then it's just an extra step. But if you want to go back to that film feeling days, you shoot in JPEG because it's like a negative. There's only so much you can do with it. You got to get the exposure right when you're shooting. Versus, oh, I'll just fix it in post. So anyway, I'm going to do a shoot today as well with this. I'm going to see how this does. I know it's going to drive me a little nuts because of the power, but being able to shoot without strobe and using the Leica in its native state, I think will be kind of cool. And I'm sure this may go up a little bit if I opened up the shade, but I want to keep it dark in here and just use this lighting to see what it looks like. And obviously the problem is the cords, and I can't just move this around. I'd have to unplug and plug it into outlets over here if I wanted it on this side. So it's limiting. But anyway, let's take a look at the shoot and get into the shoot and see what happens and see how they look. Anyway, if you have any questions, leave them below, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, so here we go. I started off with the 72-inch umbrella with those two lights in it, and I got really decent light. I mean, not great, but it's pretty decent. That is giving me the, I think I was shooting at 200 ISO. I was shooting at 200 ISO. I was at 500th of a second for a lot of these shots at f1.4 to f2. Now, granted, I don't like shooting at 1.4 to f2 in a studio. I want depth of field for the models. But, for trying it, I really wanted to see what it would do. And I did love the light. I was using the VisiFlex on the M11 for that critical focus because obviously it's harder to focus with a rangefinder. But for those of you who use Sony and Fuji that have eye autofocus, that wouldn't be an issue at all. Unless, of course, you did want the depth of field. Now this model doesn't move a lot. Like, she's not constantly moving. So using a 1.4 aperture and a slower shutter speed, the actual, the image stabilization would actually help in this situation because the model doesn't move that much. So if you are shooting at slower shutter speeds and she's somewhat staying still, it would give you some kind of advantage. But for me, shooting Leica, there's no in-body image stabilization, there's no lens stabilization. So I shoot at higher shutter speeds because I need to, because I'm old and it's a 60 megapixel sensor. But anyway, getting back to the shoot, that 72-inch, even whether she's standing or going down, like, I can just lower the stand just a little bit and still get great light with this. Now remember, the two lights are giving me 9,000 lumen each, so 18,000 lumen coming out of these two lights. The problem with this is, obviously they're corded. Like, I have two 100-watt power supplies feeding these lights and they're in separate outlets because I didn't want to burn anything up or flip and I probably wouldn't. I'm not saying that it would, but two 100-watt sources, I just put them in different outlets. I had to run the power cord, so you're restricted because of that. And the lights, they did say pretty cool. They weren't like, they got warm obviously, but not hot. The boxes themselves that that they were plugged into, yeah, they got a little warm. But okay, a little bit warmer than warm, but not dangerously hot or anything like that. So now I'm switching to a smaller umbrella. I'm switching the silver umbrella. I love silver umbrella for a studio strobe and or a light like this that is center access. I would love to use it on like the speed lights more, but every bracket for a speed light has the speed light up higher and the center axis of the silver umbrella down lower. So when that light hits it, it's always uneven light because of the silver. With white, it gets to bounce around and it evens out a little bit. With silver, it's not that forgiving. So, running a speed light in a silver umbrella and it's up higher, you're shooting the light down. So you really have to adjust your light for that. Anyway, getting back to the shoot. In the silver, I was shooting 500th of a second at f2. And, the last shot with this subject, I wanted to show you. You can see in her face the specular highlights versus when I switch it over to the white. So I wanted you to show you the silver umbrella to the white umbrella. And I'll show you both again one more time after we switch this out. But it gets so much softer and it doesn't have as much pop. It loses quite a bit of pop with the white umbrella versus the silver umbrella. As you can see in her face, it's just much more even light. It's still nice, I like it, but here's the silver umbrella again. I just like that pop that a silver umbrella can give you and obviously give you close. Now, my second subject came in. We're shooting the color chart as I always do. And we're running the double lights in the umbrella. The smaller umbrella with a deeper, it is giving me more control of the light. It's not like covering, obviously, as much as the 71-inch umbrella was. And with more control of the light, I like it a little bit better because it gives me better shadowing. It gives me more depth to the images, if you will. But again, it's soft, it's great light. And I'm gonna switch over to the silver again to give it some pop for the next one. I wanted some pop in her face because it was very mild, if you will, the lighting. I don't know how else to put it. It just didn't have the pop that I was looking for in that photo. So, going close up, I want to see her face pop. I want to see the pores. I want to see, the skin texture and so forth, because I love texture in images, and that silver gives me the opportunity to do that. The other thing with this shoot and this subject, I switched to JPEG medium on the Leica. So I'm shooting JPEG at 36 megapixels versus what I normally shoot, which is DNG RAWs at 60 megapixels. Because I just wanted to see how the camera handles it, how it converts, and see if it's over sharpening or anything like that. I don't use JPEG very often. I barely use JPEG ever, but I wanted to give a shot because, right out of camera, see what the camera does, see how the retouching would be, see if there's artifacts and so forth. Now, I will say that the images, the JPEGs were fantastic. The color was great. It didn't over sharpen. I love the way the Leica M11 processes JPEGs. Like you Fuji people know, the Fuji film simulations and so forth, the way they process JPEGs is absolutely incredible. I didn't try any other JPEG simulations or anything in Leica. There's not that many. I think there's black and white and a couple others, but I didn't try them. I just wanted to do, this specific lower megapixel, see how it was, see how the dynamic range was, see how the highlights were, and I was pretty impressed. Now, shooting a close-up of her and taking a look at it, you can see the JPEG, if you will. I don't know if you want to call it like the artifacts or whatever, but still a great end result, don't get me wrong. But when you're so used to shooting RAW all the time and 60 megapixels, you can see a difference with the 36 megapixel and shooting JPEG. Now this here, I do this a lot with strobes, so there's a light on each side of that. The light is bouncing off the cards and then back into the model in the backdrop, and it gives you really good even lighting. But for this, obviously, I had to separate the two lights, and I wasn't impressed. I mean, it's okay, but it's not spectacular at all. So then after that, I was underwhelmed. I figured, I'll shoot them through a crack and get some dramatic lighting this way to see if I can do something with this. It was good. Again, not great. Only probably because I'm more used to strobes in these type situations than I am in lights, and I don't know why. For me, it's easier to control strobes than those lights. So now I kept them separated. I have the smaller, the medium umbrella, medium deep. I'm lighting her face with, and I use the other one for the hair light. And these are my last couple of shots of this shoot. But you can see the extension cords all over the floor, and so it was fun shooting with them. I do love them, and I love the double in the same umbrella more than I like separating them and shooting them this way. But the double in the big umbrella and the medium umbrellas, it worked out pretty good. I liked it, and it was easy to shoot, and I got decent settings from it. So anyway, I hope this helped.